So this week we're doing something a little bit different, a little bit cool, a little bit quirky. We're gonna be reading. Honestly, who would have thought it possible on this channel to be reading? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. What we're doing today is actually, to be fair, is something I've not tried before. Maybe you haven't tried it before either. So we're gonna start with a little explanation of what it means. This week we're going to be mood reading, which the definition of is reading whatever your brain fancies at that minute, at any given time. For me, it just kind of means like looking at your bookshelf and like the first book that calls out to you, just reading that. And I have actually already started, I'm not gonna lie. But to be fair, all I've read is the intro of this book. But let's get into it and let's dish about my mood and let's dish about books. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I don't know, I've wanted to read it for ages and it's being turned into a film very soon. So I just thought, you know what, why not just go for it? The only part I've read so far is the introduction, framed by letters from 3 different characters. What I understand of it, it's like a sort of like pyramidal structure. I don't think that's the name for it. Interesting. I love it when like the structure of a book plays a lot into the plot. Mary Shelley was a female writer writing at a time where female authors weren't really given a lot of voice and females weren't given a lot of like voice in society just in general. And I think it's really interesting because the 3 characters that do have a voice in this are all male, of science about like regenerating the body. And when I was a kid, I was so interested in like lizards and how they could like regrow parts of their bodies. Like so interested in like, how do they do that? That's so sick. What if I did that? And I was like contemplating like chopping my hand off and just seeing if it would grow back. It won't. Don't try it. Don't learn that that's not a good idea. Yeah, so mood reading, and our first book is Frankenstein, which kind of, that's quite a dark mood. And I feel like I'm actually having quite a good day today. But you know what, we're just gonna go for it. I'm also thinking I was thinking of doing mood reading from my TBR, but I kind of want to just go on an adventure around my room. But the other thing is I'm thinking we try not to start any series. Okay, I'm gonna be so real. It's been a couple days, it's Tuesday now, I started this on Friday, and I have not finished any books. I've barely read this week. But you know what, honestly, this is the vlog that's just happening because this is all about mood reading, and basically mood reading is reading based off of your mood and how you're feeling. That is not, that means you should not be like forcing yourself to read. To be honest, if I have been reading, it's not because I forced myself to read. You know when you just like have an entire week where you're not doing anything and somehow you just have no free time? As I dropped out of uni, I've just been like dealing with the repercussions of that. I got to chapter 1 because basically there's letters before chapter 1. I got to the beginning of chapter 1 and to be honest, I didn't stop reading because I didn't like it. I stopped reading 1 because I needed to actually read a full book in this video, and I kind of thought, because I'm more reading this to understand it, and when I read quickly I don't really understand things, I have to like go over it a couple of times, like highlight what it means. But like so far it's so good. What I found interesting so far is basically the introduction of like well, I'm assuming this is like helping you to understand why Frankenstein makes a monster, and it's because like ambition, like the theme of like ambition. It's like I'm doing Macbeth in GCSEs. Doing something no other man has done before, and that kind of gives you the introduction into this world where it's like men trying to one-up each other and trying to like make their mark on the world. And in the book that I have started reading and been reading since, well, basically my mood shifted and I wanted to read a dystopian book that's a prequel to a series that already exists that's being made into a film, and it's about a character called Haymitch, and I haven't read it before, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping. We're on page 104. So good. I just love the way Suzanne Collins writes. What? I just love the way Suzanne Collins writes. I think it's so like thought-provoking and it's like, the thing is, obviously this book is, it's meant to be not like it's meant to be like YA, but for like a 14-year-old, so it's so easy to understand, but it's so sick. Like, the things that I was picking up on was like the contrast of Haymitch in this to Haymitch in the film and the later Hunger Games books. I'm like scared to find out what's happened to change him. The way that they were like talking about the tributes when they were doing the reaping, I think it's so interesting how you can like really clearly see the divide of like the people from the capital to people in District 12. I want her to write books with basically all of the games in, like Finnick, YRS, Mags, whatever. And then like I was thinking at the same time, like that is exactly what the point of the books is, to not want that. So I don't know if I should rate it, because it's kind of like rating someone's torture, if that makes sense. I think the plan is there's England are playing Latvia for qualifiers in about an hour and a half. So I think I'm going to read up until then, and we're just going to see how far I get. Like I said, I'm on page 104, so we can do a little reading check and I'll tell you how far I've got. I feel like there are points before the games actually start where you kind of like get into the flow of it and you forget what's happening, and then you read something and just like, they're all gonna die except one. I'm about to finish Sunrise on the Reaping. I've got less than 100 pages left. I've got like 90, so I'm gonna do it. This video has been so bad, genuinely. If you're looking for an actually good reading video where the person reads like a couple of books and not just one and 20 pages, have a look at the rest of the videos on this channel. I promise it's not all like this. At the moment, I'm thinking the book's gonna end with him taking a drink. Okay, so I'm just gonna preface this by saying I genuinely thought this video was gonna be an absolute nightmare. I didn't think I was gonna have read any books, just because I started this on Friday, tried to read Frankenstein, which was honestly, I'm gonna carry on reading it because I'm really liking it, and I'm really liking like the meaning of it, and I'm gonna put it on my personal statement. And I just think it's interesting to read classics. It's just, for me, I like reading them over a longer period of time so that I can like fully annotate them, fully understand what's happening. But I am so glad that this is the vlog that this has happened in, because mood reading is all about reading for you, not forcing yourself to read when honestly you don't feel like it. Read a book when you're just feeling iffy about it. Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping, if you haven't read it, go read it right now. If you take one thing from any of my videos, read Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping. The thing that Suzanne Collins can do so well is, even though she's writing like basically like for, I think I said this before, even though she's writing for 14-year-olds, she makes it so you're just so embedded in the story. Because I think often children's books, well, not really children's books, but YA meant for like quite young readers, it can quite easily, like as an older reader, you can kind of like lose sight of it, I guess, because that's like a topic for a 14-year-old rather than like a 25-year-old. I think Hunger Games, just as in general, because of like the fact that it's the Hunger Games, and also the way that she writes, it's just, you're so drawn into this world that you just forget everything that's around you. Like this morning, I thought I'd been reading for like 5 minutes. I picked up the thing, it'd been an hour, and I needed to stop reading so that I could go do something else. I'm so excited for the film to come out so that more people will get like interested in this. I think Hunger Games is so interesting because in a way I feel like it's kind of like modern Harry Potter, in the sense that this is like what like teenagers nowadays would have grown up on, if that makes sense. Like I remember the first film, I'm not sure when the first book came out. The first film came out in 2014, which is when I was 7, so I didn't watch it then. Or I think I watched it when I was in like year 5, so maybe like 2 years after it come out. Because what she's able to do is, the Hunger Games is obviously a very like distinct concept, but the way that she is able to do it so differently each time and tell such different stories and present such different issues of the world. The games themselves in all of the books are very centered around like child violence and how people market in like reality TV shows and that sort of thing children for entertainment, and like pain and the suffering of contestants for entertainment. Trilogy of the Hunger Games is very much about like women in media and how they're presented. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is, well, what I interpreted it as is it's a lot more like male power, if that makes sense, and like because obviously you're in the point of view of this like dictator, and you're kind of slowly, as the story goes on, kind of pushed out of that, and you kind of see like, oh, I've relied on this because like that's the story that he's told. But maybe I've like, as it's gone on, I've been tricked by him and I've been pushed to believe this when I should have believing this instead. Governments and bodies in positions of power can like push you to believe something even though it's not the truth. I feel like I did not put that into words well, but Cameras on the Reaping is very much about like, well, one, obviously like governments, again, human beings as animals for entertainment. And what I found interesting, specifically the tributes of District 12 are like pushed to be seen as like animals, and it goes so far that they actually believe it. And then by the end of the story, the character that's left, he sees himself so far gone as this animal character, and I think you really can kind of track his progression. So this is Haymitch, who is one of the main characters in the Hunger Games. You can really see his progression from the character he was at the start of Sunrise on the Reaping to who he then becomes in the Hunger Games later on. Authoritative figures kind of again use people to get what they want, but it's in a very, very different way to the other books. It's more like, if you do something wrong, we'll do this to someone you love. If you do this, then that person's gonna get killed. And it's kind of like that fear that exists in you, and then suddenly it's like, and there's nothing to live for anymore, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna say like 4.75. I think there were moments where I was like, I'm not the biggest fan of the writing style, but that is probably because it's not meant for, it's like, again, targeted, like the book is written for it's written for everyone, but the language is for like a 14-year-old. That was my thought of the one book that we read this week, and somehow I've been talking for 10 minutes about it, so maybe this will be a good video. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you've had a lovely time just chatting. I know I did, so I hope you have a lovely day. I hope you're having a lovely day. I have no idea what time it is for you. If you do want to watch another video, there'll be one popping up in a bit. It's either there or it'll be there in a second. And yeah, I will see you next week, hopefully for something a little bit more, how do I put this? Spooky. Anyway, toodles.